The Mackie DLZ Creator is a device that unfortunately I just cannot recommend for solo content creators. I love the idea of it, I love the functionality, I love the look of it, but unfortunately there are just some things that have me scratching my head thinking, what were they thinking? So let's start off with the most obvious one, which is the size of this thing. It is massive, I think unnecessarily so. I knew that going into it, but once you get it out of the box and you look at actually how big this thing is, it is just huge. And it takes up a lot of desk real estate. So if that's a concern for you and you've got a small office like the one that I'm in right now, you end up looking at this thing and saying like, oh my God, this takes up a lot of space. I wonder if this is something that I absolutely need. But be that as it may, I knew that going into it, so that's not the fault of the DLZ Creator. That's probably me not doing my homework and understanding exactly how big this is. Secondly, has to do with the connectivity of this with my PC. Now, maybe this is specific to me, I don't know, but whenever I plug the USB cable into the back of it and try and connect it to my computer, it will recognize it, but oftentimes it loses connectivity. So it's almost like there's a USB conflict going on my computer where it recognizes it, then it releases it, then it connects again, releases it. It's just a real pain in the butt. So as a result, I've just simply taken out that USB cable and I'm using this as a standalone device, which kind of defeats the purpose of it because again, you want to get the audio from this into your computer. Now, the other thing that is frustrating, and again, this may have something to do with me being a PC user, I don't know, maybe it works a little bit differently on a Mac. But right now with this device, you cannot set it up into transfer mode. So that means that every single time I want to get the files off of this micro SD card, I've actually got to go behind it and take the, into this little micro SD, where is it here? Right here, into this micro SD slot. I've got to be able to go take this and pull this tiny little thing out. I mean, these cards are tiny. I pulled it out already here. Look at this. I mean, here. Yeah, these things are tiny. So, like, this thing's going to get lost or broken or both. So it really is just a pain not being able to go into transfer mode. And I'm not quite sure why that is, but they just did not design it in such a way that they allow you to do that. Next up, we have something, again, that is just so not well thought out. And that has to do with, again, I know this sounds trivial, but you cannot set the date and time on this device. You heard that right. You cannot set the date and time. Now, you would think you plug it into the USB in the back and it would just automatically update all of those parameters and that would be fine, but unfortunately it doesn't update. At least my unit doesn't. Now, I did reach out to support to ask specifically about this, and they wrote back saying, yep, that was an oversight on our end. Hopefully it'll be fixed with a firmware. So as a result, what happens is all of the recordings that come out of here, they are time-stamped with March 8th, 2023. Well, that does me no good when I am actually importing all this, these files, these audio files, into things like DaVinci Resolve, and I'm doing it a sort by, I guess I could do date created. But again, it's just screwing me up because everything looks the same and you don't have any additional information on there. It's just really annoying that you can't set the date and time, and you would think that that would be something that would be so simple to do. And lastly, one of the issues that I struggled with when I first started using it was when I would press the record button. You have the ability to do a one-touch record button on this. Actually, there's a couple other issues, but anyways, the one-touch record button, you press record and it records fine, and then you press the record again and then it stops the recording. Now, usually most USB devices like this, or most devices like this, not even USB, when you stop the record button, there's like a second or two delay that it's required for the file to finish writing. In this DLZ Creator, it takes minimum 10 seconds. So if you pull it out like after 5, 6, 7 seconds and then go to try and look at that file in on your computer, you can't do it because it's gonna actually show that it's a corrupt file. It's gonna show that it's an unfinished. And then when you try and go back in there and finish it, like it's gone. There's absolutely nothing that you can do at that point to recover that file. At least nothing that I've been able to do. And again, I reached out to support at Mackie, and they said, yes, it's a known issue. You got to give it at least 10 seconds. Sorry about that. So it should be in the user guide that you need to wait 10 seconds because I shouldn't have to find that out the hard way. God forbid I was actually recording like a podcast or something like that and I just pulled the thing out after I pressed the stop record button. I would have lost that entire podcast. So that's not a good look. Finally, the one other thing that drives me absolutely bananas about this is the recording formats. So you can either do it in stereo or you could do it in multi-channel. So with a left-right stereo track. The issue with that is when you are recording in this, it's like a multi-channel file. It's a single file that stores all of the tracks, and that is very cumbersome. So what it does is it actually creates an adaptive track. When I bring it into Resolve, it brings into an adaptive 14-track file, which is nuts. So that means that I've got to go through there and I've got to delete 12 tracks. So I'm left with just the 2 tracks of the one that I want. And again, I'm just recording 1, maybe 2 microphones, and not having the ability to just record those inputs as individual files is a huge, huge pain. It goes into that multi-wave file, and it's just again, it's just a huge pain. It's not a great setup for a solo content creator. So there are some great things about this. The preamps are excellent. The recording quality is very, very good. It has a nice big screen. I found that the effects on it, like trying able to shape the sound, work well enough, but it's not great. What I ended up doing was I would actually turn off the processing on the recording itself, and I just compared it with me doing the processing in post in Fairlight versus the onboard processing that this was doing. I discovered that I preferred the one from the clean recording from this and then doing it in post as opposed to this, which kind of defeats the purpose of having this in the first place. There are better options out there for solo content creators, especially given the price. I mean, this is $799. The smaller one is, I think, $500, which is a better value, especially if you only need the 2 inputs in the back. So I would probably recommend that one. But again, there's some UI usability issues with the DLZ Creator that just do not work for my setup. Now, you may be asking, what am I using instead? And I've actually come full circle because when I started this channel, I actually recorded most of my audio on the Zoom F6, and that is exactly what is being recorded on right now. I have the Zoom F6, and I've kind of discovered this is really all I need. And the nice thing is it does record each input individually, so I can then mix and match and post which microphone I want to use. If I have an overhead microphone right now, I've got a dynamic microphone as well on the side that's also recording at the same time, but I'm not actually using it. But if I wanted to, I could just pull that over here and I can start recording it's already recording on the dynamic microphone, but I could actually use it and splice it in to something like this. So much more flexibility with the Zoom F6 as opposed to this. And more importantly, it does a great job in terms of its simplicity. And in addition to that, it has a line out, which goes directly into my ATEM Mini, which is an unbalanced mic input versus the DLZ Creator is a balanced output, which goes to monitors. So you have to buy little dongles like this to convert that to an unbalanced line input. So less than ideal, although it does it, but it's just not great for my setup. And I think the Zoom F6 is a much better solution. So anyways, those are my thoughts. What do you think of the DLZ Creator? Is this something that you're excited about? Is this something that you're using currently? I've actually tried the Rodecaster Duo as well, and that worked fine. But I think both of those devices are just simply overkill for most people, including myself. So I think I got a little excited, a little caught up in the excitement of these new devices that got released, and I'm just, again, coming to the realization that I really don't need something like that because I'm not doing any type of podcast other than just getting good quality audio into, via the microphones that I have, which is a dynamic microphone and an overhead microphone. So if you're in that type of situation where all you need is just good, clean audio, I would highly, highly recommend the Zoom F6. This thing has been bulletproof. And the nice thing is you can take it on the road if you want to and do some external outdoor recording and sync everything up, because it does have a timecode input, sync everything up with your cameras via timecode. Anyways, I am rambling. I will stop. DLZ Creator, not the best device for me, but maybe it is for you. I don't know. Let me know down in the comments below if this is something that you're planning on purchasing, or if it's something that you have already purchased and you are not necessarily super happy with it, similar to the experience that I've had. That's all I have for today. Thanks for watching. Take care.